Sophie. Oh, let me start my video. Hello.
Hi, Greg.
Hi there. How are you today? I can't see you. Are you
Wait
okay?
for
Oh, that's
wait for
good.
a sec. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Um,
That's a
Thank
good.
you. So not much day as
Uh,
usual,
oh,
but
okay.
yeah,
Not much change. Have you been? What did you do today? Is it very hot there still?
yeah, it's still really hot in Taiwan. So basically, I stay at my home, but today I study a little bit like biology and
Oh,
pathology,
okay.
and also read a book called Anne of Green Gables.
Anne of Green Gables. Oh, it's very famous, Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite books. I
Okay.
really like it very much.
I think it's an American book. Is that right? It's set in America.
Not exactly. I think it's Canadian.
Canadian. Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah,
knew it was. I knew it's interesting because when I was younger, I think my sisters read that, but I knew it wasn't an English book. I have never read it, but it is a good book. It's a good
yeah.
book. It's a good
I think
story.
most of English people read like Dickinson. Isn't it?
Well, no, Dickens. No, I would really say they don't. It's
Really?
yeah, I mean, the idea that we read Dickens is very much in cultural terms around the world because he's one of our most famous authors. But it's really hard. I tell you, I don't know hardly anyone who reads Dickens. The books are really long, and
Yeah.
the stories are great, but I think they're between you and me. I think they're really boring to read. I tell you, they are. I know I'm probably saying something terrible, and I'll be
Yeah.
cancelled as an English person. But that, well, I can explain. I studied literature when I was at school to a high level before I went to university, and it's called A level. It's English literature. And before we started reading Jane Austen, have you heard of Jane Austen?
Oh my gosh, the prejudice and pride.
Pride
Pride
and
and prejudice.
Prejudice, yeah, exactly. Pride
Yeah,
and Prejudice, Sense and
sorry.
Sensibility, Emma. Well, before we read those, were asked to read a part of a Dickens novel, just two chapters, and it was Bleak House. Now, I tell you, the book was about that thick. There were so many pages, and the description, it was really, really heavy going. Nothing happened, and it was just pages and pages of description, which was
Yeah.
great. But I think at the time, I was like, wow, this is such heavy writing. It was just like, and then so the reason the teacher made us read that was because he wanted to show us a contrast between that and Jane Austen.
Yeah.
And Jane Austen is obviously an incredible writer, one of my favorite writers.
Yeah, I
Um,
can
you know,
agree
you
with
know,
you more.
Pride and Prejudice is the most delightful book, and
Yes,
you
exactly.
you can reread it and reread it and reread it, and it's really a really good book. And
Yeah.
interestingly, there's some films, obviously a famous film made a few years ago, but before then there was a TV series, BBC TV series, which you can watch on YouTube. And I'll put it in the Google chat because Google transcript. Let me just share the screen a moment. It's the production is a BBC production, and the lead actors are sorry, not production. Get rid of the U. BBC production, and the lead actors are Jennifer, I think her name's Ely, and Colin Firth. Now, if you get the chance to watch this as a TV series, you can watch it on YouTube, I think, a whole thing on YouTube. It is the best production of Pride and Prejudice ever. It's better than all the films. It's so well made. The lead actress is so good as Elizabeth Bennet. she is superb. All the other actors are really good. It's not in one part. I think there's 8 parts or 6 parts, so it's quite long, and it's the first role, starring role really, of Colin Firth playing Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
And it's such a good production. You will really enjoy it, and the other characters are really good as well. Like Lady Catherine de Bourgh is played by a superb actress called Barbara Lee Hunt, and I really actually I'll see if I can just because you know the story, don't you? You do know the story of Pride and Prejudice.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, okay. Well, if I can, I'll quickly just try and find you a little bit of the video, the bit when Lady Catherine, because she's the lady, the very rich lady, you know, near the end of the novel, who's really, really terrible. And she's such a monster. And the actress they got to play, she's actually a brilliant actress. She's a very nice woman, but she plays her so well. It's you just go, wow, she is like a monster. Let me see if I can quickly find her. Because you'll really enjoy this. I know you will if you like Austen. I might be able to just find you a little clip. Yeah, this is her. See if I can get this up. Oops, let's see if it works. Hopefully, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, we'll just see if this is the right clip. I don't know if it will work, but you'll really enjoy this. Oh, hopefully it's buffering too much. Oh, probably. This is the main series. This is Elizabeth and the Man. I won't play you anymore. But I tell you, it's really good. It's the best production. When it was on television,
Yeah.
everyone watched it. It was before streaming. I think it was on a Sunday evening. Everyone was like fixed by it because it was so well written. The script was very well written. The actors, she is superb. This girl called Jennifer Ely. She's excellent as Elizabeth. And I really, really recommend it as a good read, a good television show to watch. Let me just get rid of that. Do you read any other like English stories? Like have you read it's very good
1984 by George Orwell.
George Orwell, that's quite heavy. Have you read this, Lion?
You mean Narnia?
Yes, Narnia. Have you read
Oh my
Narnia?
I don't know. It is English. It is written by English author.
Yeah, it's a very famous man.
So famous. It was.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis. He was an Oxford professor, and he wrote it. But you know, there are 7 books. 7 books in the series.
Yeah.
And my favorite one is not The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. My favorite is The Silver Chair. And they've never made a film of it. And it's a really, really good story. So I'll show you. I'll grab a paperback. Hang on, my books are just here. Silver Chair. Yep. So the Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis, and it's only a thin book. I reread it every year. It's such a good story. It's a very clever story. Some of the characters are the same, but many of them are not the same. And they have to go on a journey, but the journey is very scary, and it's a very good journey. And it's a really clever written story. It's one of my favorite Narnia books. Even as an adult now, I read it. It's a really, really good one. So I recommend that if you haven't actually read the book of this, because it's a really good one. The other book I'll share with you actually quickly before we start on the Mudlark, if I can find it. Well, it's two actually. Because I love children's books. I still read children's books. I think them really fascinating as an adult. And it's interesting because I think these covers are by the same. Oh no, they're not quite the same. They might be the same publisher. This one, have you ever heard of this? Tom's Midnight Garden.
No, no.
By Philippa Pierce. It's very much oh, I'll put it in the book, I'll put it in the thing so you can remember. Oops, put that in the next line. Tom's Midnight. You now understand what midnight is. It's the hour at the end of, you know, it's a ghost story, and
Really?
but it's not too scary. But basically, this boy lives in a house, and it's a big house, but it's a very old house, but it's been made up into lots of flats. So now it's not one big house, it's lots of little places. And there's a clock.
Is it like a mansion?
Yeah, but yeah, which they've broken up because it's from the old days. So they've made like it's not, I don't have too big a mansion. It's, as you can see here, it's quite big, but it's just like now there are lots of little individual flats in the building. And the boy who lives there with his mum is quite lonely, I think. And there is a clock, a big old clock in the hall, and he always hears it ringing, chiming, because it's like a very big clock that's been there since the house was built. And at midnight, one day he gets up because he hears something very strange about the clock, and he goes downstairs, and the whole house and garden is transformed. The garden is the garden of the house 100 years ago. When he looks out the window, it's like a ghost garden. And it's a really, really good story. It's a really good story. It's a lovely one. And then this other one is literally one of my favorite ever books. And it's a really it's quite scary, but it's a children's book. It won lots of awards. And it's called this, The Weird Stone of Brisingamen, which is a strange title. And very strange title, which I'll put, but it's which no one can remember. The Weird or Brisingamen. That's it. Yeah, and it's set in a real place in England. It's set in a place called Alderley Edge, which is in Cheshire. I think I might have knee in there actually, which is a big piece of stone that comes out the ground that's very big. It's obviously a natural thing, but it's got trees. It's so big, and there are paths, and there are lots of myths and legends connected to that. True myths and legends in England. But this man has written a story about something that happens there, and it's about two children and how they've really got to help the world because they've got to do something. I won't tell you what happens, but the story is fabulous, and it's really frightening as well. It's really, really frightening. For children, I think. I didn't read it when I was a child. I think I read it when I was about 15. I was like, wow, this is crazy, a crazy story. But it's got some witches, and it's got lots of old magic, and it's got lots of things that happen in the story, and it's also got one bit in the novel that's horrific, I think, for children, where even I won't tell you, but basically they have to do something. They have a choice which way to go to get out of a situation, and the choices they're given are both bad. And but the story is great, so I recommend it. It's good. It's a good way to learn about English culture, definitely, to read. And also, it's funny. I was thinking after I spoke to you yesterday about television, I was thinking there's another really good show that you could watch, which almost connects to today, and it's called The Detectorists. And do you know what well, you probably won't know this, but do you know what a metal detector is?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll put that in the thing. Well, in England, and it relates to what I'm going to talk about with mudlarking in a minute, actually. Oops. A metal detector is a machine which you can buy, or some people make them, which basically you take it outside and you go along the ground with it, and it gives you a signal if there's any metal in the ground, precious metal. And many people like doing this as a hobby. You have to get a license in England, but then you can go to places. There are lots of sites you can't go to, like it's illegal to go to protected archaeological sites. But often they will meet farmers and they say, oh, can I go on your land? And then if we find anything, we will split the find, you know. And sometimes they find nothing. But about 5 years ago, this man in Staffordshire, funnily enough, quite near Alderley Edge, who was a metal detectorist, he found a hoard. It's called the Staffordshire Hoard. There was so much gold in the hoard, really, really old pieces of gold that had been buried maybe 1,000 years ago.
Wow.
And the gold was not little pieces. It was really, really. Let me just get a picture up. Actually, I can show you what he found. Let's see if we get some images. This is what they found. This is all gold, solid gold. And there was part of a helmet as well. Now, this was found by a metal detectorist, which is incredible. And I mean, the man, what they have to do, if you find some precious metal, what you have to do is we have a law in England, and it's called treasure trove, which means that it's a very, very old law. It's maybe 1,000 years old. That if you find something very important, you have to give it to a museum, but they will pay you. They will pay you the money that it's worth. And this hoard, I think, was worth about £6 million. £6 million. So the man and the farmer got £3 million each.
Yes.
And it's in the museum. It's in the British Museum. It's incredible. And literally, he found it with a metal detecting machine in a field. He found one little piece, and he dug down, and he found another piece, and he found another piece, and then he realized it was very important. And he called in some archaeologists, you know, which are people who actually, I think they were forensic archaeologists, actually. Forensic archaeologists who went to the field and dug up the rest. So it's very interesting. But this show called The Detectorists is a comedy. It's a comedy. And if I can, I'll just try and get the theme tune up. Just and you'd really like it. It's very charming. It's very very English, I would say. Oops, let me just get the research. I've spelt that wrong. It's just the it's a comedy, but the and it's very much about England. It's very much about England and an English way of life, and it's set in the country. This is the trailer, actually. We can watch the trailer. I was thinking I would show it to you because it's actually very, very good. It won lots of awards. It won lots and lots of awards. And the music is lovely. It's they use very old folk music, which is very relevant. See if it's going to play. It's just going to load.
So you're in the field earlier. Sorry to interrupt, but you metal detectors?
Yes. Let me just get the subtitles up for you. Oh, it won't let me play subtitles, but you can find them.
is a metal detector. We are metal detectorists.
Wow, outrageous. Do you guys belong to a club?
Welcome, Sophie. You are very welcome.
We hear some interesting artifacts were found on Bishop's Farm.
A little bit like the folk joke, Simon and Garfunkel. Do you mind if we had a look around?
Not at all.
This time next year, we've got to be millionaires.
Stay out of the paddock on Birchwood Road. Don't go digging down there. What is under there that he doesn't want people digging up?
What about you, Andy? Have you got one?
No, I'm not married.
You're the only one for me, Max.
Used to be me and Andy. This was our escape from the rude world. And you come along and throw a shoe in the works.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Becky.
You no longer have permission to detect on this land under the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Areas Act 1979.
Sound like a dickhead.
You're all metal detectors.
Detectorists.
It's really good. It's a really, really good show. It's very, very much about England, and it's funny, but in a very charming way. Like, there's a great word, which is the word, oops, get Google Translate up, wry. It's a lot of, they use wry humor. Wry is a strange word that people don't tend to say very often, but it's a very old word. But I don't, does it translate well? I don't know, what does it translate as, wry?
It is a little bit like ironic.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic. Dry, I would say, yeah, ironic and a bit dry, slightly mocking, but charming at the same time. And it is very, very charming, Detectorists. I mean, it's interesting because I watched it because I'm very interested in metal detecting. My father used to built a metal detector for me, and we used to go out sometimes on the beach because we lived by the coast when I was a child. But the series is lovely, and everything about it is covered. And they do find something interesting as well, and it's funny, and what they find is very interesting, and there's a lot, but it's also about life in general. It's not just about detectoring, it's all the things that are happening around them, and it is a good series. You would enjoy it. I mean, it might be on Netflix, actually. It might even be on Netflix. You could have a look. I'm not sure where, but it might be on Netflix. So your English is interesting. You do read a lot of English then. You read a lot of English books.
Yes, I didn't expect I read so much English book. Yeah.
But why did you choose that? Is it that you've always liked English books, or the culture, or?
Well, just I just feel those books are really fascinating to
Okay.
fascinating. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, compare with some Chinese lecture. I mean,
Okay.
Chinese lecture is also amazing.
Yes.
But it is not, but it's I mean, the article is much heavier than some books, some English books.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's why I really like English book, because I mean I can learn it live and read it again and again, and
Exactly.
also and also like I enjoy the moment I read it.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. You mean you get lost in a book? You're in the moment when you're reading it, and you're in the world of the book. Do you
Yeah,
mean? Yeah, I
exactly.
understand. That's what's so great. I agree. When you find a book that transports you, if you like, to another place or another time, it's very magical, It's very magical, and I think we all need that in our lives. We definitely need, you know, to have that release, if you like,
Yeah.
into another world. I mean, that's why I like, you know, sort of fantasy books and things like that, because, or science fiction, because they can transport you from this place to another place, and I think that's very good. And also a good television can do that as well. Like definitely Detectorists is a show that when you watch it, you feel very involved with the characters. You care about the characters, and it's very gentle as well. It's a very gentle humor. It's not so hard, aggressive, you know, humor. It's just very, very, very gentle, which I think is really good. So let me just get rid of that. What I'm going to do is we're going to talk about mudlarking, which I put the word up in the top. It's a really old word, and mudlarking and mudlark is a profession. What does it translate as? I'm very interested to know. Can you tell me what the translation is?
It is like a fish. It is like a fish, and yeah.
That's so wrong. Yeah, that's really wrong. It's definitely not a fish, because it's a person. It's a human. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is the thing down here. Let's have a look at in the translation. Mudlark here. Let's see what this does. The new thing does. Oh, I don't know what that's doing. Okay, that just went. Let's have another go. Mudlark. This is the truer definition. Can you read that in Chinese? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's a person who goes to the river. In the past, it was an actual profession. I mean, people lived on the things they found in the river. They needed to do this, and often they were very young, very, very young, and also incredibly poor. I mean, really, really the poorest people in London. They managed to do this because the Thames is I'll put this in the top actually. The Thames is a tidal river. I don't know if you know what tidal means. It's quite complex idea, tidal, which it might let me. Yeah, I mean, it's basically. Well, actually, I'll put tidal river in. Actually, be a bit easier. Tidal. Oh, it's not going to let me. Tidal. I'll put it down here and see what happens. A tidal river is basically a river that is affected by the sea.
Yes.
So it goes. So it's so big and it's connected to the big sea. So basically, each day it goes up and down.
So it is affected by the gravity.
Gravity, yeah, the moon. It's affected by the moon.
Yeah.
In fact, yes, the moon. But it's also, but because it's a tide, that we call it the tide, like the sea goes in and out on a shore. The river, a tidal river, goes in and out as well.
Yeah.
And so the level of the river changes. And in London, it changes a lot. Twice a day. I think the height is about 25 meters. It's very, very big. And so basically, when the tide is high, the river is very high. At low tide, it goes down. And on the edge of the river is something which we call the foreshore, which is a great word. It's the land that appears when the river goes low. So it's at the edge of the river. And in central London, in parts of London, you can walk along that at low tide. You have to be very careful, and because it could be dangerous. And you do not know what's on the mud because some of it's mud, but that's where mudlarks find things. Now, in London, you now have to have a license to be a mudlark. You have to pay, and it's quite a lot. I think it's about 75 pounds a year, or £10 a month, £20 a month, in fact. And even then, you're not allowed to dig about deeper than that, like 20 centimeters into the mud. And you're not allowed to use a metal detector either. And if you do, you can be arrested. So because the Thames River has so much history, you know, for over 2,000 years of history has fallen into the Thames, that many interesting things get found in the water, and then they get pushed up onto the shore. And then, you know, every day, twice a day, it all gets like mixed up, and then it goes in and goes out. And so the things that people find on the shore are incredible. I mean, I've walked many times. I've just got a few things which I've just grabbed, but these are things I've had. Do you know what these are? Obviously, they're shells. Do you know what type of shell this is?
Seashell.
Yeah, well, it's not really. It's a type of animal. Do you know what type of animal? And that sort of would go together, really. It doesn't go together now, but it would go together like that. It's an oyster.
Oh, so
this is an oyster. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but not many. But this is an oyster, and these are very old oyster shells. And originally, oysters were very, very cheap to eat in London. They were the cheapest food for poor people, and they used to, you know, open them and then sort of drink them. I'm allergic to shellfish, so I couldn't ever have one of these. I'd get so sick. I once had mussels in Paris. I was so ill. I was ill for weeks because it's something in my system that doesn't like them. But these are two very old oyster shells I found on the foreshore when I was walking. Also, from this, I don't know if you can see how beautiful this is. It's a piece of mother of pearl. You know, I said about pearl. You said pearls. Yeah. This is a piece of mother of pearl, and it's pure mother of pearl, and it's amazing. It's sort of lustrous. It's a great word. I'll put that in the thing. Lustrous. Pearl's a great word anyway. But pearls, the shine on pearls is lustrous. Which I've spelt wrong. Lustrous. I've got to think how I spell. Oh, sorry, there's an extra S in there. Lustrous, yeah. It's the shine that you get from a pearl. It's very different from other minerals. But pearls are fabulous, and oyster shells, but this is a quite boring finds compared with what people do find. So we'll watch the video, because the video is by a lady, and she's written a really good book on mudlarking. Her name's Lara Makelum, and she wrote this great book, and this is a little video that she did. So let me just, can you see the video?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, let's go for it. I think we might have time to watch the whole video, seeing it's just you and me. So I'll start playing. Oh, it's gonna.
I started visiting the river soon after I moved to London, just to get away from city life. And for the longest time, I just walked along the river path. And then one day, I decided to go down onto the foreshore. All you have to do is go down a ladder or some stairs, and it is just another world. Some people might say it's quite ugly. It's a kind of strange, ugly, beautiful place. I just love it out there. My name's Lara Makelum, and I've been mudlarking for just over 15 years. The first thing I found was a clay pipe stem.
these are amazing. You see many of these. It's for smoking
Yes.
tobacco, and these are about 200 years old. And yeah, and they're just lying there because it was before cigarettes and there was only loose tobacco. So people would buy these pipes full of tobacco ready-made, smoke them, and then throw them in the river. And they're made of like clay. They're clay pipes, so it's very natural material. And yeah, you see many. Originally they were very long. The pipes were like literally about that long with a little bowl. And but this is just the pipes.
Just made me realise that there was probably stuff down there that was worth visiting. And as soon as I started finding other things, it became an obsession. The very first written record of the word mudlark comes from the end of the 18th century, but I'm quite sure there have been river scavengers right through from Roman times, because if there was something of value in the river, there'd be somebody there trying to find it. We're lucky. Modern mudlarks don't have to do that to survive. We do it as a hobby. Modern mudlarks are...
Hobby, it's a great word that, I expect you know this, hobby. You understand the word hobby? It's something you do for fun. You know, like you enjoy. It can be a pursuit. It can be like quite intelligent. You know, it's not just a silly thing, but a pursuit as well. Even you can make money from a hobby, but it's a good thing.
Amateur archaeologists or historians, people who are interested in history, and people who like going down to the river and checking out of modern day life and looking for evidence of Londoners from days gone by. When I first started going down, I picked up pottery and clay pipes. They're the really easy things to see. Look for straight lines and perfect circles, the things that nature doesn't make. One of the questions I'm asked a lot is, am I a treasure hunter? And really, it depends what you call treasure. There is treasure down there. There isn't probably that much that's hard to find. I search eyes only, so I don't dig and I don't scrape and I don't disturb the foreshore and I don't use a metal detector. So I like just taking home what the river offers. People go down there with metal detectors and they look for what people would call treasure, metal things that have some value. As far as I'm concerned, treasure has a wider definition. To me, the precious things are the things that link me to history or link me to forgotten individuals.
That's a great true thing she says, treasure. You understand the word treasure. She's saying to her, treasure is just the history, but to other people, it's the precious metal, it's the gold, it's the silver. But to her, it's just the social history is the treasure. What for you is treasure?
I don't think I have any treasure.
Okay.
Really.
But even something you treasure, I mean, do you treasure a book? Do you have a possession? Do you have an object or something you really like?
I think my treasure is my family. Because
good answer. Great answer. That's such a good answer. I agree with you. I think a family is treasure. I mean, I have a great family still, and but I also collect things. And as you can see behind me, this is ceramics. I love ceramics, and I collect. I'm very interested in the history of ceramics, and so I have a lot of great ceramics, which I've been collecting for years. I haven't found any of this on the river, by the way, but I've found it in markets and things. But it's a great. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I think my favourite find is a complete Tudor shoe. This one is a tiny one. It's a child's shoe. It was a heart-stopping moment as I pulled this out of the mud and it came out complete. The thing I love about shoes is that they're so personal. You can see exactly where their foot would have bent and where their toes poked out at the end. It's 500 years.
That's incredible. This shoe is 500 years old. It's from the Tudor period. The Tudor, which is the reign of Henry VIII and Elizabeth and Anne Boleyn. So it's a Tudor shoe. Yeah. Oops, Tudor B shoe there.
Old, and it's got these perfect lines from the last person who wore it. When I think about the child that lost this, it makes me wonder, did it slip off while they were getting into a boat? Were they trying to run across the mud and it got pulled off, or had it just worn out and they threw it away? Mud can preserve the most incredible things: wood, leather, and even fabric. The problem is that as soon as it comes out of the mud, it starts to degrade really quickly. Sometimes when they were digging basements and they were building further inland, they were digging into the Roman medieval Wales, and then they took the spoil and dumped it on the foreshore. Since the 60s and 70s, ships haven't been coming into London to unload. And so the foreshore's been forgotten and neglected, and the revetments have broken, and the river's turning it back into a natural V-shaped river. There's a double-edged sword. It's washing away a lot of valuable archaeology, but it's also washing out these objects and depositing them on the foreshore. When I find something like a pot, a complete Roman pot, just lying on the foreshore, I do think about how many have been broken and destroyed over 2,000 years, and how lucky I am to be the person who happened to walk along and rescue that one from the tides, because they will all break down eventually.
So yeah,
Rubbish.
She finds, I mean, that little pot was Roman, so 2,000 years old, which is incredible, because the Romans settled in London 2,000 years ago. They called it, it was called, I think, Roman London. Oops. It was actually called Londinium. Yeah, that was the title of London. The Romans called it Londinium. That was its official title.
It was virtually unchanged until the end of the 19th century. Wood and pottery and bone and shells and all of that stuff broke down naturally. Until you get down onto the foreshore, you don't realise how much plastic's going in the river. When you get really, really close down, where you see the foreshore in close-up and you see what it's made of, the tiny little pieces of ceramics and tiny pieces of shell and bone and the pieces of plastic, you know that the shell and the bone and the pottery is all just going back into where it came from, essentially. But the plastic's going to be there for thousands of years. If we haven't completely destroyed the world in the way that we're behaving, people scavenging will find plastic. Virtually everything down there is there because human beings have put it there. And there were the odd things that were lost. This is a glass eye, and it scared me when I found it staring back at me from the mud like old Father Thames. It's even got blood vessels on the whites of the eye. Mudlarks use a phrase, getting your eye in, as you're searching for things. Once you see something once, it sort of imprints on your mind. It wasn't until I found my first coin that I started finding coins everywhere. This is a love token. It's a silver sixpence, very, very worn, and it became the fashion, particularly towards the end of the 17th century and the early 18th century, for a young man to bend a silver sixpence in front of his intended and to present it to her as a symbol of his affection. A good proportion ended up in the river. I get my kick out of that first moment I pick an object up, and it's like reaching back through hundreds of years, and you pick it up and you think, who made it? Who bought it? Who used it? Why did they throw it away? How did they lose it? All these questions pop into your mind. Who was it all those years ago? Someone who's been forgotten, who's lost to history. That's what I find fascinating. It's that direct link with the past these ordinary objects have with ordinary people. I look at the river and I think, you were flowing through here before we even came. We've narrowed it and channeled it. But once we've gone, it's still going to be flowing through. It's going to carry on flowing through. It's eternal, the river.
I think that was a really good video. And it's true that you do see a lot of plastic, terrible amounts of plastic in the Thames now, which wasn't there before, but it's, you know, ended up in the Thames, sadly. And as she says, it will outlast all the natural material. The plastic will be there for thousands of years. It's interesting what she says about coins. I mean, I've never found any coins in the river. I've walked along. But I've met some people who have found coins. So I'm hoping one day I will find some coins. But just to show you the sort of coins, and I've got some coins here, old coins that I found, but in markets, not in the river. But I just show you. I'm just trying to open this little bag. Now here's a coin. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? Now this is an English coin, and it's got the head of the Queen, but not the Queen now. The Queen, I'll tell you the date. Yeah, it's Victoria. And the date of this coin is 1858. I've lost my, sorry, I've changed hands, that's why. 1858. Right. Now these coins, I don't exactly know the dates of them, but I will show them to you. Can you guess how old they are? Oh, sorry, I'll try and get a focus. It's a bit small. Try that one first.
300 years ago.
No, not 300. And this got a bit. These are a bit more worn. So but you can see there's a man's head.
Yeah.
I think you can see there's a man's head on that one. It's just my focus is probably, my screen's too small to focus. Let me try this one. Different hand. Oh, is that the right way? Oh, yeah, it's that way. Sorry, because it's upside down. You can see it's another man's head. Yeah, she's a. No, these and two little small ones, which are silver. These are 2,000 years old.
2000.
Yeah, because they're Roman. They're Roman coins. And there are lots of Roman coins in England. I mean, you can even find them on the internet. You can buy some because people find them all the time. These are bronze. These ones are bronze, so they're not worth much. I don't know which Roman emperor it is, but these are before, I don't know, 400 AD, or I would think. These silver ones, I've never found out who they're by, and also they've been clipped, but they're very lovely. Oops. You can see, I think they might be Greek actually. I've got little angels on the back.
Yeah.
And I've had these for years. I bought these in a little bag of coins in a market in London, so that was really good. It's really lucky to find them. Let me just see what else I was going to share with you. Oh, I know, I was going to do a poem about the Thames. I thought we could do a poem about the Thames. And yeah, I've got one. And let me just see the one I like. Oh yeah, this is a really lovely poem. It's by Oscar Wilde, and there's a lovely painting of the Thames. I don't know if you can see this painting. It's by an artist called John Atkinson Grimshaw. He painted about 100 years ago, and he painted lots of things at night with the moon. He loved painting pictures with the moon, and there's a lot of atmosphere in his pictures, I think, and I think they're really good. I really like them. So do you, well, it's just you. So I think you could try, we'll read a couple of lines or 3 lines and then, actually read the first 4 lines, then we can discuss them, I think. If you want to start the first one, big barges.
Big barges full of yellow hay are moored against the
Shadowy.
shadowing wall,
Wharf. Yeah.
and
Well,
like a yellow thickened scarf, the sea
silken. Yeah, silken.
silken, the thick fog
Fog.
fog hangs along the quay.
Yeah, that word, it's a really difficult word. QU word. It's actually pronounced key, not
Key.
qua. Yeah, it's pronounced key, as in the key in the door. Yeah, it looks like it should be pronounced quay because it's QU, but you actually pronounce it key. So it rhymes with hay almost. It doesn't quite rhyme with hay, but it's like the idea it does. Big barges. So the barge is a big boat, a long flat boat that like a they're called Thames barges, and barges, and they used to bring in the goods to London. You know, they're very famous, and in this he's talking about them being full of yellow hay, which is like straw, you understand? So yellow straw. So he's painting a picture of the colors. And mooring, do you understand the word moored? I'll put it there, moored. It's when a boat comes in and stops to moor, it's tied up, but moored. And the shadow is shadows. Wharf is an area at the edge of the river where you store big things in buildings. The goods that you have on the boat, you would take them out on the boat and you take them to the wharf. It's an old word. Hope that makes sense. Wharf. I don't know if it does. Wharf.
Wharf.
And then this is very good, this bit. And like a yellow silken scarf. So yellow, it's like a piece of yellow cloth, silk, and a scarf's wrapped around your neck. The thick fog. Fog is the mist, you know, like fog. Yeah. Hangs along the quay. So it's like saying, like, it's like a line of yellow mist, like a scarf. It's just hanging up. Yeah. It's very beautifully written. Do you want to do the next lines?
Okay. The yellow leaves began to fade.
Yeah.
And flutter from the temple elm.
Yes.
And at my feet, the pond
Pale.
Green. Is that green?
Yes, it is green. Sorry,
pale.
I should make it a bit bigger for you. Sorry.
It's fine.
I can zoom in a bit.
Slice like a rod of rippled jade. Yeah,
rippled jade. Yeah. So I've made it big because sorry, I've got a very big iMac, so I can see it, but probably your screen's a bit smaller. Yeah, so the yellow leaves begin to fade. So it's obviously autumn time. It's the end of the year, you know. So the leaves are yellow and they're fading away. And the elm is a type of tree we have in England, an elm tree. So the leaves are from the elms. And also Temple is an area on the Thames. It's an area of London just by the water. So I think the elm trees are at Temple. There's a station there, Temple Station. And the flutter is the way that the leaves fall. You know, when leaves sort of drop from trees, they tend to turn very slowly, and they're describing it fluttering. And then he says, at my feet, the pale green Thames. And if you think about the light on the water, like in this picture, it's very green. The water is very, at night, he's saying, so it's at night, lies like a rod of rippled jade. Jade is a green mineral, Chinese,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
yeah. So rippled.
It
And
is
so,
important in Chinese culture.
yeah, of course, yeah. And we're all over the world, in fact, yeah. And rippled, because the water it's got a surface, it's sort of like that. It's rippled jade. So he's like saying it's one long piece of rippled jade. Let's read another bit. Just read, let me. Oh yes, we were talking about the mudlarks being poor and homeless and people who had to find a living from the river. And this is a poem by Alfred Noyes about the Thames at night, and he's talking about how poor and how hard it is for the people to live there. And so do you want to read these 4 lines?
Okay. Within it was color and laughter, warmth and wine. Without it was darkness, hunger and bitter cold. Where
Cold.
those white globes on the wet embankments shine,
Yes.
breathing the Thames with gold.
Gold, yeah, exactly. What is basically he's looking at is he's inside. He's basically, there's lots of restaurants there in the
Yeah.
Thames, especially when this was in a great big hotels. So he's probably in a hotel and it's very glamorous and there's laughter, and he says laughter and color and warmth and wine. And he looks out the window and he sees the Thames and the people there, and it's just darkness, hunger and cold because it's the winter. And then he's saying, where those white globes on the wet embankment shine. The globes, white globes are the lights, the lamps. If you look in this picture, you can see the lamps.
Yes.
And this area by the river is called an embankment. Yeah, it's a great word, actually, embankment. It's a sort of walkway. See, just get that, I'll put that in. Embankment. Yeah, it's a sort of flat area that people can walk along by the river. So, and then it says greasing the Thames with gold. So like if you look in that, the light on the water there, he said, is like grease almost. It's like flickering oil on water. But it's yellow light. It's yellow light. It's very atmospheric. I think it's a great poem, actually, and also it's a great picture as well. If you look up more of his work, I'll just put his name in the list. His work is very fascinating. His name is John Atkinson Grimshaw, and I'm just looking at the time because I've got to whiz away today, so I won't overtalk. But I'll just get this up, copy. Just show you a few more of his pictures if I can. Because his work is beautiful. Many of his scenes are at night and they're very atmospheric. They're quite ghostly. They're quite ghostly, some of them, but they're very moving. Often there's just like one person walking in the street and it's lonely. It's just got a really strange feel, I think. He rarely painted interiors. He painted lots of like night scenes. Like this one, I think, is a really good one. Of a little figure in the street, and it's the moon is just in the trees. And I love the lighting. As a photographer, it's very dramatic. And this one with the gates and the person standing there and the big house. You feel that there's a story in all his pictures. Very, very good story. I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah, because we're up for time. So thank you so much, Sophie. Lovely to see you
You too.
today. Thank you very much for coming today, and hope you have a good weekend. I know it's only Thursday, but and it's not too hot. I'll see you hopefully next week. I don't know what the subjects are for next week, but maybe they'll be good, and maybe they will not be good. Who knows? But have a good weekend. Take care of yourself, and
Thanks.
I'll speak to you again.
Okay,
Bye
thank
for
you,
now. Bye
Brett.
from
Have a
London.
nice day.
I will. Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.